Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you another in our Christmas card series for this year. And this card is very special, and it's beautiful. I actually scrap lifted it off of another person's idea from Pinterest and figured out how to make it. So I'm going to show you how to make it very quickly, but just know that it's not my original idea, although I may have modified her idea. I don't know, because I didn't find any directions for the other idea, so I just sort of figured it out on my own. And the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to just move my embellishments to the side, but we will be getting back to those in a little bit. You're going to need your trimmer. I have a corner rounder here. We're going to need that eventually as well. And I just have a decorative sheet of paper that is double-sided. And I have a piece of red cardstock and a piece of some kind of texture-looking green printed paper. This is actually from our current line of Christmas paper, and this is an old one from a couple years back you may recognize if you're a CM buff. So let me just set that up there so you can see it as an example. I'm going to grab my trimmer here and just go ahead and show you how this is done. So first we're going to just make the base, and this is the new trimmer in case you haven't seen it before. It's available for a limited time, and Creative Memories came out with this just to celebrate our birthday that just happened, that just occurred recently within the last couple weeks. So if you like the blue, be my guest. Be sure you go to my website. That would make me really happy. And you can get the trimmer in this really beautiful blue color. You can also get the Border Maker system in the beautiful blue color as well. So you could try that, and I think you'll be pleased. It's very, very pretty. All right, so I'm just cutting a 5.5 by 4. Oh, this is going to be too big, so I'm glad I checked it. I was cutting mine the exact size of the card, but it is not quite the right size because I went with 5.5 by 4.5, and I was forgetting our cards are 5.5 by 4 1/4. So there's that 1/4 inch off. Now that looks better. So 5.5 by 4 1/4 will give you the base that's going to cover the entire top of one of our cards from our blank card kit, or a small card that you might buy from another craft store. But we all know you buy the CM cards, right? I hope so. So I'm just going to set that aside. That's going to be our base. Then I'm going to cut this piece at slightly smaller. We're going to go with 3 3/4. Actually, I could probably go with 3.5. Oh, let's do 3 3/4. So 3 3/4, and then turning that, we just need that to be at least 4 3/4. So I'm going to go with 4 3/4. There we go. And then this piece is going to go underneath our cut piece, so it'll go right on top, just like that. We might need to trim it just a little bit more, but not too much. All right, now this piece right here, we need a piece that is going to be 4 inches. This is the one we're going to do some extra cuts on. So 4 inches by I'm sorry I appear to be making this up as I go along. Really, I am not. It's just I'm having to refresh my memory because it's been a little bit of time since I did my sample here. So 4 inches by 5 1/4. You're just taking a 1/4 inch off of your base so that you have this 1/8 of an inch that's going to go all the way around. All right. Then what you're going to need, and you're going to have to probably make this ahead of time, I used my my angles that I have on my mat here that I work on, but you need something that's going to give you a 60-degree angle. And I just made this out of cardstock that I had that came with my paper or my page protectors, and just made myself a little wedge guide that I can use with my trimmer. And so I'm going to set that in even with my bumper right here. Okay, and it's going to give me my 60-degree angle right here that I'm going to use to put my paper up against. So I'm just going to set that in there so it's good to go. I'm going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to fold it in half long ways. Okay, so put your corners together. You are going to want to crease it. You don't have to crease it heavily, but you do need to crease it. Because we're going to be using that fold and putting that folded edge right up against our guide. So just make it a definite crease right in there. Okay. You'll notice I didn't like use the bottom or the edge of my fingernail to make that crisp. I just want to make sure it's definitely a fold. Okay, now this is the tricky part of this particular design. You want to take the folded corner of your paper and put it to the 1/2 inch mark on your trimmer. So right where the grid starts, if you have my the CM 12-inch trimmer, that's where my folded edge is going to go. My folded corner is going to go, and my folded edge is going to go right along my 60-degree angle marked a template that's right here on my trimmer. Okay, so point at the 1/2 inch mark. That means we're going to start cutting at the 1/2 inch, and we're going to be using the marks on our blade housing and the marks on our bars that support our blade housing, because that's what's going to allow us to get this gradual cut that goes out. Okay, so we're going to, this is going to start, our cut is going to start at 3 3/4. Can you see how that's where the cut will start, 3 3/4. And basically that first cut I want to be about 3/4 of an inch. So if I'm starting to cut at 3 3/4, that means the edge of my housing is going to be at 4 3/4, and this is usually where I lose people, because you feel like it's too much math, but just bear with me. The edge of my housing is going to start at 4 3/4. That's where my cut's going to start. So then I want to go another 3/4 of an inch. So I want my edge of my housing to go to 5 1/2, and then my cut will be in the right place. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is lift up my arm and slide that cut line to the very edge of this. I don't know if you can see it, but on my trimmer I have a crack in the plastic. And you can't see it because it's not focusing right. Let me see if I can help. Bring that into more sharp relief. There you go. Can you see that line that's just beyond my cutting mat right there? All right, that's where I'm going to put the previous cut on. It's approximately 3/8 of an inch. Approximately 3/8 of an inch. Maybe not quite. From my cutting line. Okay? So that's where my cut's going to go. All right, now we're in focus. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to move this the cut edge that you can see right there. I'm going to move to that little crack in my trimmer, and I apologize that I can't be more specific than that, but it is the measurement that I used. So hopefully you all have the CM trimmer and you can go with that. So this time I'm going to bring my cut edge out to 5 1/4. Then I'm going to slide it along and bring my cut edge out to 5 7/8 and slide it along, bring my cut edge out to 6 inches. Or actually, I beg your pardon, let's go to 6 1/8. Slide it along. Then we're going to do 6 3/8. We're just gradually making it bigger, kind of like a Christmas tree would be. And then we're going to go to 5/8. 5/8 is as wide as you want to go because you're now about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of your paper. And we make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonal cuts. So let's see how many we've done so far. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's as many as we're going to do. You're going to stop there at that 1/4 of an inch. Then what I'm going to do is remove my template from my trimmer. And if you use repositionable adhesive, you just rub that adhesive right off. Last time I used this, I used permanent adhesive, so it kind of doesn't rub off, of course. You know that. So then I'm going to take my fold and I'm going to put it right up against the bumper, the top bumper of my trimmer, and I'm going to move my paper until the end of my cut right here is on my cutting line. Okay? And then we're going to take a note of where that ends. So for me, that ends at approximately 1 3/4 inches. So that's where I'm going to stop my cut, or start my cut actually. I'm going to go the other direction so I don't have to be as careful. Okay, so if my cut needs to start at 1 3/4 inches, then the edge of my housing is going to be at 2 3/4 inches. So I'm going to bring this out to 2 3/4 inches and just cut forwards so that I'm cutting towards the fold, and I cut that little wedge right out. Okay, without cutting the edge of my paper. Okay, so this is how my paper will look at this point. Now we're done with the trimmer for a minute. So set that aside. Grab your zero centering ruler if you have one. These work great for this next part, and let me show you why. We're going to do some folding, and sometimes paper doesn't really want to cooperate with this portion of the endeavor. So let me just walk you through it a little bit. Hopefully the paper that you've chosen is a paper that is on the thin side. We tried this the other day, a friend of mine and I, and she was using a decorative paper that was gorgeous, and it had some texture to it and some glitter on it, which was very, very pretty, but when she went to fold it, it was too thick and it just didn't work very well. Okay, so I'm just going to bring my paper up. I've put my zero centering ruler at the end of where I cut. I'm going to bring my paper up very carefully and just run my fingernail along that little bit of paper that's right there. And that will score it essentially and enable me to fold it the rest of the way without it becoming, without it tearing, without it becoming warped. Because your cuts are going to, or your folds are going to want to fold in different directions on either end, and you don't want that. So I'm using my grid, as you can tell, to line up I lined up my straight cut at the bottom, the one that goes all the way across. I lined that up on one of my grid lines, and that's helping me keep everything straight, because then I can use my zero centering ruler to gauge whether things are straight or not. And by holding my zero centering ruler in place, my folds are straight. I hope that makes sense. So now I'm just going to fold that one over, move down to the next one. You'll find you have to kind of realign everything each time, which is not unusual. Okay, I need to see where the end of my, there it is. Okay, so we'll line up that, or score that one. This does take a little bit longer. This is not a quick and easy card. This one is a little bit more tricky, a little bit more difficult. But it is really cool how it turns out. So it's all in how much time you have to put something like this together. Might be really worthwhile for someone that you haven't seen in a long time, or if you just want to show off your paper crafting skills to somebody that you love, then this is the card for you, because it does turn out really, really cool. All right. One more and then we are done. You'll notice that your zero centering ruler really does come in handy, because you can line up, even if you're not a super visual person, you can line up the lines on your grid, on your ruler, with the lines that are on your mat. And then even if where you're folding doesn't have a line that goes through it, you're still going to be straight because you've lined up another line that's keeping everything where it should be. If that makes sense. All right, so you know what? Oh, that's interesting. So this cut actually should have gone out a little farther so that this would have folded a little deeper. But, no tree is exactly perfect. So it'll be fine. All right, so the other thing I was going to do, and I didn't find it ahead of time, is it's going to locate a piece of, here it is. So I have this piece of wood printed paper that I had cut for another project, and it has a decal edge along the sides, both top and bottom, and that's what I'm going to use as the stump for my Christmas tree right here. And so you could choose to use that. You could choose to make your own out of something else. This is not super tall, but it doesn't have to be super tall. I'm going to put some words across the bottom here, and so it'll be fine. So I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this the width that I want. We're going to make this stump kind of fat, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere this stump on the center, right underneath that center point. Okay, or you don't have to have a stump. You'll notice my sample card doesn't have a stump at all. So it really is up to you how you want to do it. Okay, now I'm going to get my corner rounder. I'm going to corner around each of these, each corner, and we're going to glue or adhere down the points that we folded on our tree. But we're not going to do that until we adhere the bottom piece together. So let me just get that out of the way. We'll pull these other two papers back over here. I want to make sure that base that I cut is still going to be within the parameters of my outer part of my tree, and it is, so that's good. I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive just in case I have any adhesive that's poking through my my tree. I don't want to see it, so we're just gonna do like so. You can put it on this way, you can put it on you know, flip it over and stick it on there, whatever makes you happy. See, I had a little bit of adhesive showing through there, so I can just rub it right off so it's hidden. Okay, now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to adhere all of my little points down. So I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive for those two so that I can get all of those put in place right where they need to be and rub off what's not needed, right? I'm just adhering the point. I'm not worried about the sides. The sides will go where they're supposed to go because you creased it so nicely before. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and glue this down to our base, allowing about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Grab one of my blank cards from my card kit that I have handy because it's that time of year, right? I'm going to make sure that it's opening the right way so that my card doesn't look up, so my tree's not upside down. I don't want any upside down trees, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that onto the front of my card, just like so. Now I can have some fun with some embellishments. So if you have some extra embellishments hanging around, you could use these. They're very cute. If you're concerned about mailing your card and having to pay extra postage if you have embellishments that are raised up, then what I would recommend is that you cut some embellishments, cut some cute little shape from paper and use. You can use glitter paper, which will, you know, bling up your tree, which might be fun. I'm just going to use these cute embellishments that were from a recent project, and I put an embellishment that these just happen to be heart-shaped, which is cute, I think, to use on this particular project. And I've got green ones and I've got red ones, so I'm going to use both the green and the red and just go every other one just for some added fun to my tree. You can embellish this however you want. You could put ornaments on the points out here if you want to accentuate those. Whatever makes you happy. And then I want some kind of a glittery star for the top of my tree. And I have, you could use a punched star. These are using our open star punch that we have. There's an inside punch and an outside outline star. Those are really pretty. Or you could use an embellishment. I think I'm going to use this embellishment right here because it's all by itself and it's pretty and very star-like. So I'm just going to stick that clear embellishment right up there at the top. And then I'm going to grab my double-sided black pen and I'm going to just write Merry Christmas. And normally that would show up really nicely. You can see on my sample it shows up fairly well at the bottom. I wrote Celebrate the Season down here. And Normally that would work, but as I'm looking at this, this is quite busy down here at the bottom. So let's try just adding a little piece of our red cardstock. And I had that piece I threw away. Yes, I'm a trash picker, I guess you could say. That's not quite wide enough. Yes, I'm not going to write it super, super small. So I'm going to cut another piece. I need a little bit more than that 1/4 inch. So we're going to go with something that's more like the width of the cuts that we made to make our tree. And then I don't need it to be quite so long either. So let's see, how long do we think we're going to make this? Maybe to there, which is roughly 3.5 inches, roughly. And I'm just going to snip this off with my scissors. Go ahead and adhere this on, or you might want to write it first if you're worried about your writing not being exactly the way you want it. You could write it first and then adhere your strip after you know that it looks the way you want it to. And I'm just going to write Happy, Happy Holidays. And draw maybe some cute holly. You know, you can do whatever makes you happy. All right, so there we go. There's card number 5 in our series, and I'll be back with one more. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you've had fun making this, and I hope that you enjoy your season this year. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Have a great day.